So today's mindfulness is about something called nexting. I like portmanteaus. It's like when you put two words together. Cut and shunt, it's like two dodgy cars that you've been welded. So portmanteau is when you put text and next together. And we're going to talk about how to work with the process of labelling, which is really, really important. Using labelling as a very good tool to work with how you are noticing that you are being distracted. I use labelling a lot. I'm always using labelling. The moment I know I'm distracted, I always say to myself, thinking in my mind, and then it goes away. So let's make a start then. So fundamentally, just to repeat a couple of things that's really important, because I know some people have found some challenges with doing mindfulness. Fundamentally, mindfulness isn't a quick fix. The trouble with our society is we want quick fixes because we live in a very fast age, don't we? It's like a medicine that doesn't taste very well, but you take it over time to feel better. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the challenges again, because we've been talking about that. Now, I'd like to use the vinyl LP as a metaphor, because mindfulness is working with the pauses, the gaps and the silences. And the better you get at mindfulness, the larger the work, the gaps, the pauses and the silences are in between your thoughts. A little bit like the space in between clouds. Trouble is, we're all into digital downloads today, aren't we? Oof. We really find it hard to switch off and get those pauses, those gaps and those silences that are so important. And sometimes silence means that you have to deal with stuff. Which means that, it doesn't always feel pleasant, mindfulness. It can release very, very repressed, unacknowledged emotions. But over time, the dosage, using the medicine metaphor, means that you'll have less stress, you'll have less anxiety and less worry. Now, I have to be very mindful of the fact that I do a lot of theory and I do a lot of talking. Mindfulness is something that cannot be understood. It has to be practiced. You really can't explain New York to people. They've got to go there, because nothing ever really meets your reality, have they really? You think the way that you look at New York, it's just like, oh yeah, just like a film set, And then when you get there, it doesn't sort of miss up to the glamour, does it? But the really important thing is that I know I've said to you in the last sessions, try to be more mindful. But the best thing to do with mindfulness is to notice what takes you away from being mindful and do a little bit of an experiment. And the thing that takes you away from being mindful is thinking, which we do up to about 50% of the time. We're distracted by our thoughts, and according to a study in 2010 where they got quite a lot of people from different ages and backgrounds to this app went off and buzzed, and it basically asked them a few questions, and it found out that most people the unhappiness came from the distraction, but the focus, even like I said last session, cat litter, even when you focused on sort of like cleaning the cat poo out the cat litter, strangely enough, people seem to be a lot happier than people who are distracted when they're doing something they love. So, what is mindfulness and what is it not? Let's talk about the jewel in the ice metaphor. You are the ice. It reveals you. But the trouble is, the ice is your solid casing. It is your rigidity. The rigidity of your patterns, your beliefs, your rigidity for the need to be right, the rigidity of your life having to go a certain way. And we get angry when things don't go our way, don't we? Well, that's the whole point of yoga, isn't it? It's all about acceptance and letting go. And the terrible thing is we sort of try and bump and slide like an ice cube all the way through life, hoping that we don't get shattered. But mindfulness is the melty mushiness that comes with it. It comes through the sun, which represents your self-observation, your honesty and your curiosity through the process of mindfulness. The jewel revealed is your ease in life. It doesn't mean to say that we don't believe in, we're not saying that life is easy. The Buddhists say, you reach enlightenment when you can release yourself from the feeling of suffering, the second arrow. It reveals yourself and takes you away from self-centered thinking. You melt, and the process softens your rigid emotions, your rigid beliefs. It creates that softness that takes away the stiff bodily tension. The body does feel the emotions. They're trapped in your body. It's been proven by PTSD and traumatic studies such as Peter Levine. It's a great book. Peter Levine and all these people that are into PTSD, and the new way that PTSD and mental health has been looked at is the way that people work with the body. So the experience is about self-discovery, to shed and let go and to reveal who you truly are. Well, hey, like I said before, that authenticity thing isn't easy to do. You have to peel back all the layers of all the years of conditioning. And not good stuff as well. Sometimes you've got to think about, how your parents have sort of trapped you in this sort of negative conditioning. So let's talk about, after the metaphor of the ice cube, ice, baby. Next in, have you ever seen or have you ever done this? Walking down the street with your head going forward, texting. Walking and texting. Texting. People leaning forward as they're walking and texting. Lost in the future. That's what nexting is, this portmanteau word. We are slaves to doing, and stress comes from the fact that we're constantly telling ourselves that we need to do stuff which pulls us from the present moment, doesn't it? Now, that's why we're going to practice a bit of thought labelling. So, when you're doing thought labelling, you're aware of your thinking. This is a top tip, this. Remember the power of your thoughts. You can take the red pill or the blue pill. What do you want to learn? The Matrix. Try and experiment as homework, because I'm going to give you some homework for the next session. If your negative thought pops into your head, keep repeating it for 20 seconds. See what happens. Okay. You will quite possibly feel it in your body, which is a challenge, isn't it? This is a tip that I used to do if you've ever been in a one-to-one with me, I do body reading, and you can turn the emotion into a shape, a texture, an object of your awareness. So say, for example, if I said to you, I did a body scan with you, and then I said to you, where do you feel it? And I get people to tune into their body. And they'll say, I feel it here in my shoulder. And I'm like, right, okay, then what shape is it? What colour is it? What texture is it? I get them to describe it. And then it brings out an awareness of the emotion that is trapped there. Quite interesting. And then you can work on that to soften it, to make it into something smooth and manageable and small and colourful and cuddly. If it might be black and spiky but do it for 20 seconds. You might feel it as an emotion, and then see in front of that negative thought you've had, I'm having a thought in front of that negative thought, and keep repeating it for 20 seconds. And what it does is it does the typical mindfulness trick. It distances you from that negative thought. Do it when you get lost in emotional thinking, and return to your body as a focus, because the moment you feel that difficult you think that difficult thought, and you repeat, I'm having the thought in front of it, and you return to the physical sensation of the body and you focus on your breathing, you instantly become grounded into the present moment and you take away the power of that thought. So, the power of thoughts. I think Buddha said, whatever you think, you become. Okay. So, your homework, before we do a little bit of a practice, is this. Be aware of when you're nexting. You've got an addiction to doing the future stuff. Try to be more present. Notice, basically, when you, not so much being present, but notice when you're being distracted. Okay? Notice what takes you away from something that you're doing. Playing the guitar, the bass, the piano, reading, watching the telly. Just notice every time you're distracted rather than practicing being more present. And practice thought labelling. Always remember, you can say the following in front of the thought. I always say thinking when I'm practicing my meditation. And I always say, I'm having a thought. And then I go back to my focus. So, that's the important thing next in. Notice when you're skimming through and not experiencing your life. Life's short, too short as it is. We've got to experience it because it goes so quickly. And then think about what your thoughts and your judgments about the fact when you're trying not to think too much about too far ahead. We're all planners and, we live in a Western society. It's all like target setting. What's your goal? When's your PDR? What about your appraisal? Next time you have an appraisal in PDR, do it as a joke. Say to him, I'm in the present moment, man. I'm just in the moment. And then see what happens. I'm joking. Right, let's do some attention on the breath and mindfulness practice. And I want you to use either the phrase thinking or I'm having a thought. Okay, let's practice. Okay, for the last 8 minutes. And I'm going to try I'm trying to talk less and create more pauses because that's really important. More pauses. Silences. We don't like silences, do we? They're uncomfortable. I'm terrible, me. When I'm very, very nervous, I fill the silence. So, get yourself into position. Make sure your knees are not higher than your hips so you've got an elevation. Long spine, golden coins, chin, slightly tucked in, long neck. Okay. Tongue. Just there. Okay. Mouth closed or open. I prefer it open. Eyes gently looking down or closed. Whatever feels good right for you. I like a soft gaze. Yeah. Just taking things that are moving or could be out of our line. Okay, let's get ready then. Okay, so let's bring our attention. Let's focus on that body, that postural alignment. And taking 3 deep inhales and 3 deep exhales to relax the body. Just soften the shoulders so we've got that sense of dignity and poise but also relaxation. And just feel the contact of the body. Just feel your hands against the thigh wherever they're resting. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel your hips together against whatever is holding and supporting you. And just be aware of that physical contact. And then start to become aware of the tension of the movement of the body, of the breath. We're just noticing, we're not labelling, we're just noticing the quality of the breathing. Is it smooth? Is it long? Is it short and shallow in the chest? Is it low in the belly? Can you feel any tension in the jaw? And just really move into that attentional awareness of the breath. Noticing the rise and fall. Like a wave. Notice how it gently softens and rocks your body backwards and forwards. Just feel the movement, the sensation of the body. Just notice what the breath does to the body. Instead of, when your mind wanders, sort of gently leading it back like a wandering puppy or a wandering child, gently by the hand or the lead. Every time that you become distracted, remember to put thinking. Just say thinking and come back to the breath as the focus. Every time, I just want you in this practice just to notice every time you're distracted and say thinking inside your head. Gently and kindly come back to the breath. Keep the focus on that smooth rocking of the body. The expansion with the inhale and the contraction with the exhale. Not forcing change in the breath. Allow the breath to flow like a gentle wave. And every time you notice it wandering your mind or distracted, remember thinking and return to your focus. And come back to your awareness of your hands, your feet, the physical tactile sensation of your body against the floor, whatever is holding and supporting you. Okay, just to come back to the original point that I was making about the challenge where it will bring up repressed, difficult emotions. Always remember, use titration or pendulation. Move to a part of the body that feels good, comfortable or numb. You can explore the shapes, the tactile sensations of your hands and your feet or both. Pendulate means to go backwards and forwards between the texture, the shape and the object of your awareness, which is a difficulty if you want to make it in, like I said earlier, as a kind of physical thing, okay, and going backwards and forwards. So if you're feeling a difficult emotion in your body and it becomes this black spiky shape and you want to go backwards and forwards between that and the sense of your hands and your feet and the contours of your skin and the boundaries of those places, going backwards and forwards. It was found in a study to do with war veterans and PTSD that doing that backwards and forward action, pendulation, reduced the PTSD within the vet. Or you can do titration, whereas you don't go right in it, step back from it, just around the edges. So, homework. Nexting and thought labelling. And again, instead of like going, I'm in the moment here, instead of thinking, yeah, I'm going to be more mindful, just try and notice when you're being taken away from being mindful. Do something you love. I bet some of you do a few lovely things, a bit stitch and bitch, But to be fair though, sometimes I genuinely find you notice anybody who does something they totally love. It's like when I was watching Grace and Perry last night. Grace and Perry's always, and all the artists who are doing the art, they are so in the moment because of the way that they are focusing on what they're doing. Crafting and art and things like that is so mindful. That's why we do mindful colouring. I'm not a fan of mindful colouring. It's one of those things I have to work with. It was a bit like yesterday when I was doing a mindfulness practice and I was trying to include everybody in there, including people I don't like. And then it was like, oh, and the policymakers. And what happened? I imagined somebody who was very close to the PM, who's a policymaker, and instead of thinking loving kindness, I thought hitting with a cricket bat. But I realised that I can't be hitting people visually with a cricket bat when I'm practising loving kindness. Way, I have to work with it. I have to understand that these people are suffering too. They have a disconnect. They are very, very unhappy, and that's why they're not very nice to other people. They lack compassionate empathy for the people that matter. So yeah, sorry if I was a bit political there, but what did I say about resistance? I said that resistance is good when it comes to bad habits and difficult emotions, but I didn't say that you shouldn't resist when it comes to power and politics. I'm a feminist first. Okay, right, off I go. Hope you enjoyed that. So, it's all about labelling today. Label, label, label. Next in. And also the wonderfulness of just noticing when you're distracted. I'm definitely not going to be distracted in a minute because I'm having my dinner. See ya. Bye.